Welcome, everyone, to the MidLyfe Gaming Podcast. This is Archie, and with me, as always, is Steve. How's it going,
Hey,
Steve?
it's going fantastic. Happy Monday, Archie.
Happy Monday. The worst day of the week, Mondays.
Hey, it's over now at least, though, right?
That is true. It's over. People are off of work, hopefully tuning in. Uh, let's see here. So, not a whole lot has happened this week in the realm of the gaming sphere. A couple of key things did, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, if we want, we can just go ahead and get right on in it.
Let's do that. I'm ready. I'm excited. A lot to talk about this week. So, first up, you've got up now Anthem, Rest in Peace. So, it's pretty much, it's a sad story for me. You probably know I was probably the only one out of our group that really enjoyed Anthem when it came out for original release. And there was a story that came out maybe about a month ago from Jason Schreier. He's always got the inside news with all these companies. And he had heard that EA was going to have a meeting. The executives there were going to decide what the fate of Anthem would be. Would they continue on with their plans to do a 2.0 kind of refresh, revamp? Kind of think of some games that have done that in the past and been successful, or were they just going to cut their losses and move on? And unfortunately, they did decide to cut their losses and move on. So for me, like I said, it's pretty sad. I still had Anthem installed on my hard drive. I didn't delete it. I was like, okay, this 2.0 update is going to come out eventually. And I always thought that the gameplay of Anthem actually was pretty good. It wasn't the gameplay mechanics that a lot of people had issues with. What they had issues with was the lack of content and just the way that the content was laid out. So, just kind of, if you think engine wise, every encounter that you went to, there was some type of loading screen. You had to
Right.
load into those type of things. Whereas with Destiny, it just kind of naturally progresses through the world. You move from one location to another. Oh, look, there's an event here, or oh, here, if I go through this, cave, eventually I'm going to be inside of a strike that just naturally, starts. Maybe I have to hit a button, but I'm still right there. I don't have to go in between loading screens. So that was a big one that broke the immersion. But I think the actual gameplay was great. Like the mechanics were fantastic. It felt like Iron Man, obviously,
Right.
especially. Like they really captured that well. I loved that one, the wizard class that had like the lightning attacks or the fire attacks and all the elemental stuff. So it's kind of sad to see
That
that
was my
happen.
favorite class to play.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad game. I would, if I had to review it, I would have probably given it a 7 out of 10 around that time and just said, hey, we're hoping for more content because there just wasn't anything to make you want to log in day after you beat the campaign. But really, I think a lot of people just have fatigue from that genre altogether. Like we talked about this on a few episodes already, but the looter shooter genre just isn't as poppin' or as big as it was right when Destiny and Division were at their hype or at their biggest peak. Both of those games they have a good player base right now, but they're not something that people are taking days off work and stuff like that to play anymore like we used to. So sad to see it go. The only good thing that comes out of this is that these resources can be moved from Anthem over to other games. So EA obviously they've got Battlefield, they've got the Star Wars series, they've got Dragon Age, they got Mass Effect. So there's a lot of different options there for these guys to move on to, or maybe there's even a new IP. Who knows? But wish everyone the best. Is always sad when something like this happens because obviously the people who were on that team were probably passionate about the project, and now any work they've done just kind of disappears to time. So
Yeah, do you
rest
think
in
we'll see
peace.
any of those mechanics live on in future titles, or do you think that it's just, yeah, it was a good run. Let's start from scratch and we'll build Frostbite, 8.20 now.
Yeah. So one thing is that they really didn't have like proprietary wise, like you just said it, they used the Frostbite engine, which all their games are kind of mandated to use. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was the first game to break that mold. They got to use Unreal, and obviously that was a great game. So I don't think anybody wants the tech that they developed in there. Like I was saying, the like having to go through the loading screens just to get to the next activity and stuff
Right.
like that. Now the gameplay mechanics, there's probably a way they could repurpose that, but I just don't think they really did anything good. Tom the Greek in chat asked if it's worth buying still. I say yes. The campaign was fun. They did say they're going to keep the servers online, for some time, so maybe like a year or two. I mean, if you can find it for $5, it literally was on sale for $5 at one point. Like I
I
saw it
remember that.
at
Yep.
Walmart. Yeah, so that. And also one thing, acknowledge, Arch, did you get can you see who that follower was as well that we got there a couple
Yeah,
moments
that
ago?
was Crazed Alpha. Just dropped us a follow. Thanks for him.
Yeah, thank you, Crazed Alpha. Really appreciate
Appreciate
that.
that.
Yeah, but if you can find it for $5, it's worth playing. It has a probably 20 to 30 hour campaign. Maybe I'm overestimating. Maybe 10 to 30 hours, somewhere in between then.
I
I
think
remember it
if you
being,
burned through the storyline, like that was just the only thing you were doing. You weren't focused on the part crafting or
yeah.
the testing out different ones. Thanks, Mr. BP, for the follow as well.
Woo woo.
If you weren't doing any of those like side things that they tried to occupy your time with, um, then yeah, you could probably burn through the main campaign in like 10, maybe 15 hours to stretch it out a little bit, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't a super long campaign. I think not having a multiplayer, like a true multiplayer aspect. And I do mean
I mean, like PvP.
multiplayer in PvP sense, but also
Gotcha.
in the, you know, doing group things like a group PvE scenario. There was one near the end of the, 1.0 life cycle for it that was kind of chaotic. It wasn't very well set out or organized, and it was kind of a weird setup to even start it up. And even then, it still turned out to only be like, oh, with three other random people who may or may not join you, go ahead and start taking down these waves of enemies. And it just wasn't very well put together. I
Oh
think
yeah,
what would
the
have benefited
Cataclysm
them.
event.
Do what?
The Cataclysm event.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that thing which everyone was hyped for because people wanted the game to survive and thrive because it was a great contender at the time to what Destiny was, and it was just like cool. What is Cataclysm again? Like what's happening? There was no like, hey, intro once you drop in, or oh, you have a new mission now, or hey, there's this thing that's happening in the social space that you need to go pay attention to now. There was just like, hey, we did things. Figure out what we did though. It was very hush hush almost. It was a very
Yeah.
weird drop of content. Um, but yeah, I think if they had at least some sort of PvP situation, which I imagine would have been hard given the fact that they had uh, a whole third dimension, involved. Like most games are plagued by jumping around a lot in PvP, but to have an actual flying mechanics in there, oh man,
They
uh
handled it so well. Like it felt so good, especially so I've played, obviously I've got the benefit of having played the Avengers game now and play an actual Iron Man, and they handled those mechanics better than the Avengers game did, to be completely honest. So it's just, it kind of sucks. Like I always say, these big companies, they only care about profit. So when something like this fails, they don't say, "Oh man, let's go back to the drawing board and figure out how to bring, do a successor to it, maybe something." Like I'll give you a good example. Look at Control. Control is a successor to what Alan Wake was. So Alan
right.
Wake came out, and mildly successful, not really good. Okay, let's go back to the drawing board. They do two, and still didn't do it. They did Quantum Break, still not there. Finally, with the fourth outing, they hit a home run with Control. EA is going to go out here with this one swing for Anthem. It's not going to strike a home run. They're going to forget about that idea forever. They'll never come back to it. They'll put out Madden, whatever again. They'll figure out a way to squeeze another game out of Madden. They're bringing NCAA back. So they're going to continue doing that. I think we've talked about this before, but FIFA's like a $2 billion income source for them each year,
Oh yeah, on just
just
the
based off,
cards,
yeah,
just those
just off
cards
the
that you
Ultimate
buy.
Team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they want, it's like, should we spend our resources there, or should we spend it on this game like Anthem that costs 300 million to develop, and we don't get anywhere near our investment back on that? So kind of sucks. We'll see what happens. I hope EA turns a page for the better at some point, maybe new leadership or something. But
Hope
I mean,
so.
Star Wars, they, that was probably a good example of what happens when they give the developers some freedom. So
Some freedom,
maybe
and they
they,
listen to the community. Because I
yeah,
remember there was a bunch of talk prior to that game coming out of like, what's it gonna be? It was very kind of almost cryptic. And looking back, I'm pretty sure it's because they were trying to make key decisions on, do we lock them in this way? Do we allow them to do things that way?
Yeah.
and you could tell that the finished product that came out on launch day, there were a couple bugs, but I didn't have really anything that broke my experience from the game, and it was a great game. Like, I
Yeah.
would recommend anyone buy that game, uh, even if you're not, an action combat, Dark Souls esque player. I know the game gets compared to that a lot, just because on the normal and harder difficulties, it can definitely feel that way.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but I feel like the tells in the combat are way more telegraphed than they are in the Dark Souls series
Yeah,
and
it feels
Bloodborne.
better. Like you play Dark Souls and Bloodborne for the challenge. You don't.
Right.
Some people like the atmosphere. I always think the atmosphere is corny. To be honest, it's like
Yeah.
medieval
Campy.
gothic. Like we're used to it. What Star Wars does is it's a action. It's an action adventure game with those complex mechanics in it for the combat, and it's got an incredible story tossed on top of it as well. Whereas I can't even really tell you the story of Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Really, there's nothing in depth that I know about it. I can't name you a character, anything like that. So
Right. And this is, I believe, this last Star Wars title of theirs was considered retroactively canon for their extended universe. So, I mean, that alone, because Lucas as well as now Disney have been very uh, cut and dry on what is canon and what is not.
yeah, they
And
tossed
for
out a
them to
ton.
go back and say, hey, the game followed all the rules, it got the stamp of approval here, here, and here. Uh, yeah, it's good. It's canon now. It's extended canon.
Yeah. Glow Warrior in chat said one thing that I think killed the community was the controversy behind removing a bit grinding cave. And what that was, so at the beginning
Mm,
of the game, it was very hard. I forget how they were called, Masterworks.
right.
They were orange. I can't remember what they were, maybe legendary, but whatever those weapons were and those suit parts and all that kind of stuff, it was already extremely rare. So for us to find an area where you can actually grind and, kind of guaranteed get a chance at that, for them to remove it is kind of like a slap in the face because we were all saying increase the loot drop rate. There's times where they would accidentally turn the loot drop rate on, and then we'd all be like, "Oh yay, they did
Yeah,
it!"
this is what we want.
And then they put out some fucking infuriated statement like, "Oh, that was an accident. Sorry." And we're like, if it's that easy for you to do, why don't you just keep it permanent? Because that really like all you have. There's a secret sauce to that. Like the people who want to min max, those are perfect games for them. They love looter shooters because they can min max all different types. It's exponentially the different combinations you get. If you got 18 different slots on your body that you can, equip something to, times how many different items are in there, times the traits that can go on it. Like you have infinite gameplay opportunities there. And that was what they were lacking. They were just lacking that depth. Like they had the systems, they just weren't putting the content out quick enough. Like there was weapons they showed in the kind of like the trailer and the promo stuff that we never got in the
Right.
game that weren't even available. And it's like, where the hell is this? Never came out. So yeah, rest in peace. I won't spend too much time on that. Last thing I'll say about that. So it came out February of 2019. It is now March of 2021. So about a 2 year life cycle. The Metacritic rating as of right now is 65, and of course, like I said, they never put out a major DLC besides the Cataclysm event. They had other little activities, but that was the last big like world altering event that they did.
I think the whole chaos that surrounded that grinding cave is, I mean, it's almost one for one for what happened in Destiny 1. There was a cave where you could just nuke a ton of different hive enemies in there that would just
Yeah,
spawn if you just rocket launch from about 1 mile back. You could just keep on unloading in there and just keep collecting engrams. But I think the key difference, though, if you were to study the two situations, was that Destiny 1 at that point in time had, I won't say the most content, because I still remember D1 being a little dry in the beginning.
yeah,
But we knew that there was going to be something. We had been told there were numerous
raids and everything.
communications like, hey, there's a raid coming up. Hey, we have,
Yeah,
there's DLC rumored coming out. And, we knew it was going to be a living and thriving thing. But already at the point of the grinding cave situation in Anthem, there were already conversations going around of like, how long is this game going to stick around? Are we getting any type of real content updates? I remember they did. I don't remember if this was. part of the conversion from beta to 1.0, like launch 1.0 or not. But I remember there being something related to the social space was pretty much barren. Like it was basically an interactive load screen. And then suddenly it's like, oh, there's this open world. You have these shops here. There's these different vendors and NPCs, and oh, there's this secret area where all these other different suit flyers are. And like that little jump was enough to get so many more people hyped about it. Like the game had a following,
Yeah,
and it always comes back to the fact that, and we've talked about this numerous times, and it will probably continue to be talked about because it's always the problem in the community is, or not the community, in the development cycle is the big guys in the top of the towers that have no clue what's happening on the floor levels. They're just
yeah,
like, oh, I put 1 million into this. I expect to see 1.5 million out of it by the end of the week. And you're like,
yeah.
okay,
That's why Phil Spencer's so good over at Xbox because he's actually a gamer. Like people always are screenshotting like him,
oh
you know,
yeah,
his player status playing XYZ. Like that's why they make so many gamer friendly decisions over there versus a company like EA, where the guy who runs EA right now literally got promoted to CEO because he was the guy that invented the ultimate card mechanic for the Madden game. That's how he got promoted up to CEO
yeah,
because he had already
that's
demonstrated.
the guy you want leading a development,
Yeah, I mean,
cycle.
for the business side, look at them. They're successful. Like they make more and more every year, despite putting out like 6 games a year. For those being like sports titles, so
Yeah.
they're doing the right thing for the business people, for their stockholders and everything. It just sucks for gamers most of the time, but luckily there's a lot of other indie developers and all that out there. But let's move on to something else. What do you got,
Yeah, yeah,
Archie?
yeah. Well, we do have notes in here about the E3 live show being canceled.
Uh,
Uh, that was no real big surprise. It struggled last year. I don't remind me. Did we even have an E3 last year? I was pretty sure it got canceled, and we did the Summer of Games stuff that the
that's
Video
ex-
Game Awards did.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. So EA got canceled last year. So if you think about COVID, like the pretty much the peak of it was March, and EA usually happens in June. So there's no way that they were going to have everything cleared up. And California's been one of the strictest states when it comes to like COVID restrictions as well. So they no way it was going to happen there. So they ended up just, hey, sorry, we're not going to have anything. We're trying to work. They put out in a statement early on, like we're going to work with a partner to find out, type of event to do, and then Jeff Keighley just came in. I don't know if he was originally working with them and those discussions fell off, but he came in, saved the date with the the Summer Game Festival, and then of course the consoles, they all did like a summer sale, and then Steam had their their Steam Game Festival as well, which was pretty cool. Where it was I actually like the experience of what the cons did last year, where it was accessible to everybody. In the past, it's like, okay, you got to be one of the people that can travel, press, pay, whatever the case is. There's always some type of restriction for you to get there. Whereas last year, everybody was invited because everything was online. The companies that all did demos online, like Steam and everything. So I personally I like this, and I think the the game companies themselves, some of them, the indie guys, they kind of rely on E3 because even getting your trailer out there on the E3 floor gets you trending for a couple minutes on Twitter just
Oh
because you
yeah,
just had a trailer come out. So it kind of sucks for those guys, but then we see on the other end of the pendulum, you've got a company like Nintendo that they don't ever have to go to E3. They have no reason to. They don't need to pay for the show floor, none of that, because they can do a Nintendo Direct and everybody's going to be talking about it the week before, the day of, and the week after.
right.
So
Except this last one. This last one sucked, but
yeah, well, we'll talk about how it sucks though, won't we? And we'll talk about a little bit of it. But so the kind of the question then goes, what are you going to expect out of whatever's going to happen this year. And I'm going to expect the same thing as last year. I think it'd be more polished because now people have, they have the experience from last year plus the year to prepare for it. Most people already knew that, like, yeah, things aren't going to be back to normal as quickly as we all hope they will. So I'm sure most companies had this kind of prepared. I work with some PR guys for a YouTube channel, and I'm already getting like releases about, hey, this game is going to be announced in Q2 and stuff like that. So they're all thinking about it. I just want to be able to play more demos. I think that's the best thing. Like trailers are cool and all,
right.
like I love the video game awards, that exclusive or world premiere, like all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff's pretty cool. But being able to get your hands on it and have like that con like experience, I think is the best way to get people excited about this stuff.
Yeah, and to touch back on your independent developers uh comment you made earlier, it is a very big platform for them because both Sony and, well, except in the last like 2 or 3 years, not Sony, but Microsoft for the last, I don't know, several years, they've had a specific uh segment of their keynote speech dedicated to just independent developers. I think it was like a ID on Xbox or something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a huge platform for them, and for those independent developers, it can make or break them. So hopefully, I don't know if it's been announced yet or not, if they're doing a summer of games this year, but hopefully someone steps in to kind of help even those that battlefield. But yeah, again, like you said, Nintendo does not need help in this E3 realm, but normally Nintendo drops a ton of money on floor space rentals
Yeah.
at the actual convention center halls at E3. Uh, so there's a lot of income that area is about to lose. Hotels, local businesses, which they're already hurting.
Oh yeah,
Um,
they've been
it's
terrible.
yeah, it's gonna be a rough year for that entire area again.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
I think the other thing too that I think of every week as I put together like the news and stuff, as we both put the news together, is that
Mhm.
it's really there's kind of a drought in the gaming industry right now. And I don't know if that's because, so many schedules got impacted by COVID, but there's been a real drought. There has not been a lot of big releases. I think the last big release, honestly, was Spider-Man. Maybe that might have been it. I mean, there's been some games that have taken off, like Valheim and some other, Among Us, Fall Guys, that kind of stuff. But in terms of like a big AAA release, or actually Cyberpunk, probably maybe right. That was
Yeah.
December, November of last year. So yeah, it's been pretty quiet on the gaming scene. So hopefully that's because people are holding their cards close to their chests just for this type of stuff. Hey, we'll wait to the middle of the year, which is kind of better too. If you're not coming out right away, hold it. Don't. I wish more companies would do that. Hype me up when it's like 6 months from release. Don't hype me up 10 years before it's coming out.
Oh, for
5 years.
sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
it's just
Nintendo is like an expert when it comes to providing just the right amount of time between releases. Like, we'll talk about this later, but a lot of their games that they've announced recently are coming out in the next anywhere from 2 months to, I think there's one coming out next month. Um, just all within now. Uh, but yeah, the COVID impact on these development cycles is very real, and we kind of felt it last year, but we're definitely going to feel it this year. I think we kind of touched base on it on the last conversation, the last episode, where it's easier for a team that's been working on something for 6, 5, even 4 years to take a 12-month break at home and just continue wrapping up everything. Just they're already set in their ways. There's already a plan. Everybody knows everybody, and they all have their own actionable items that they can work on. But whenever you start building a new project, normally it's not necessarily reshuffling. It's more like reprioritizing teams that are specific to the idea of what this new game is going to be. So for that to happen when everyone is still working remotely, that is a lot harder to overcome than people just continuing to do their jobs, bug smashing or making sure that things are polished here and there. To build something up from a foundational stance remotely is rough. I've been in those developer meetings in those rooms, not for anything video game related, just simple web software alone is super complex, and to do that remotely it's a tall order. It's not something that's easily achievable, and we're going to see the result of that this year. I think a lot of the
hopefully.
games that we have, or not we have, but a lot of the titles that we are expecting to see, we're not expecting to see them until maybe December, with the exception of a couple of key titles here and there that have been worked on for longer than 3 or 4 years. Um, anything new, I don't think we're going to see too many crazy off the wall trailers. One of the people at Xbox even tweeted out, I think he's like a community manager or something, in reference to their summer of gaming thing, whatever they plan to do during the summer announcements. Even said, don't expect anything big or major from us and from the studio. I think he was talking specifically about Elden Ring, which, side note, I'm excited about. But the overwhelming consensus in the community of developers is like some of us are making it happen and some of us aren't. And I think new things are going to struggle, but I think existing things as well as repetitive things like a new football game or a repetitive title like uh I don't know, like if a Destiny 3 was announced or something. It's not, but if it was, I wouldn't be too shocked because it's a third iteration and a thing that already exists.
Yeah.
I think truly new titles are where we're going to see the struggle happen, especially on the indie front. Um, we're going to see more games like Valheim, I think, in the next coming months, where it's just been like, all right, we can't afford to really have too many art people here. Let's just make a base game that works, that has cool functionality, and hope the community likes it.
Yeah, I mean it's a good formula. Just put out a good game,
Mm-hmm.
and the player base will usually find it themselves. Like I don't think there's a lot of money that needs to go into advertising. Like get it out to a couple of content creators just to get a little bit of word of mouth going. But a word of mouth of a good game travels fast on its own. Like there's not too many games where I think, man, how did I not hear about this? Like usually you hear about it pretty quickly.
Right.
So yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. So we'll see how that all goes.
All right. So next up on the news train, I guess, is uh Pokemon had a pretty big announcement the other day where they announced a couple of key titles, some returning favorites, and one kind of new one. The first one that they led off with was the new Pokemon Snap. So for people who might not know, Pokemon Snap originally came out forever ago on the N64. It was a very different take on a Pokemon title. You didn't catch, you didn't battle. You really, the whole point of it is just take pictures of Pokemon. And it seems like such a simple idea, but it played very well. You got to see these Pokemon that you watched in your cartoon shows. You got to interact with them in a different environment. Uh, you worked your way through to get different tools to help, Pokemon. I will say, a little bit on the abusive side, the original one was because there was like a little Pokeball looking thing that you would throw and it like
Oops.
dispersed gas on them. Maybe not the greatest thing. I don't know if that was a good call back in the day, but the new one looks great. I'm excited for it. Uh, this one will definitely be picked up. Oh yeah, it says right here, 1999 is whenever it came out, and it's a new region, which is great. The From everything that I've watched, it seems like there's a couple of Pokemon that have been hand selected from each generation. Um, of the title. Different forms seem to be in here. There's like some forms of Alolan style Pokemon from the Sun and Moon series, and again, it's a similar situation. You're on a rail. The rail goes. You take pictures. If you can't fast enough, that's on you. And then you try again to get a better picture. And your pictures are rated. You can share them now. That's a new thing. Back in the day, you would have to take your take your game cart to your Blockbuster, just to date ourselves a little bit. Take your game cart to Blockbuster, load your game cart into this kiosk they had there, and then from there you could print out your photos onto these little, like, I don't know, 2x6 pieces of photo paper. Print quality was terrible, but it was still fun as a kid. You went to Blockbuster, print out your 18 pictures of Charizard, and you were happy. You were set.
Yeah. Actually, I had the little printer thing for that you could attach at home too, because
Oh,
there was remember the Game Boy camera?
yeah,
Like I had that, so I remember buying that printer accessory at some point, but it was the same thing, like you said, little like 2x2 stickers or something like that.
right.
Pretty cool though. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
That
pretty
was
good game.
Pokemon Snap was a really unique title. I like that when they Pokemon is one of those titles too where it opens itself up to a lot of different takes on it, but they've been pretty good about not really let me use the correct term here, not exploiting the game or
Right.
exploiting the IP. They have always kind of they've really used it in a way that makes sense. Like Pokemon Go, man, we all saw the craze that was. So
Oh
they
yeah.
they've chosen their partners well. So I like this idea. My kid's starting to get into gaming now, so this would be something I'll probably try to play with her. It's a very relaxing experience from what I remember. And the graphics, like we're seeing right here on screen now, like they look incredible. So
Oh yeah. I think you bring up a good point too. It is a very good introductory title into not just the Pokemon realm, but also video game as a whole. I mean, you are kind of on a time constraint, but as you can see in this other video on the right hand side, it's such a slow pacing that you're able to uh, fully soak in your environment and
yeah,
see what's happening around and explore with all these different Pokemon in the area and see how they interact with one another. So it's a very, like you said, chill and relaxed way to introduce even a younger audience into the world of video games so that they can get used to the controls easier. It's a very step by step process. Even the original one was very like, okay, we're going to go through this course once, and then later you'll come back to it and you'll have a different tool and you'll be able to do different things here to see how different things interact with one another. So yeah, I didn't even think about that until you had just said it. It would definitely make for a great introductory title.
good stuff. Yeah, and one last thing on that, then we'll move on. But yeah, also the fact that it's on Rails too, so there is no real fail state. It's
Right.
just get through it. Yeah, what else you got for us?
So they also announced a remake of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. This one, we were all expecting it, and by we I mean us who actually play Pokemon. Uh, and One of the things that caught me off guard was the style that they decided to go with. It's a very I don't know if you've seen Link's Awakening, the that last
Yeah,
Zelda title. It looks almost like it's in that same exact engine almost. It's a little bit more sharper than that title is, but it's still that isometric view. It's not a straight up top down like classical Pokemon titles are. Um, but it's still a three-dimensional title. I've seen a couple of videos where it compares old graphics and new graphics, and it looks like everything they're doing is almost one for one. It's just a graphical touch on it. And this game is one this series is one that I do hold very close to me. This was one of the games that my nephew, my first ever nephew slash niece or whatever, my nephew played, and he was enamored by it. So he would call me all the time, try to ask like, "Hey, how do you get this guy and this guy?" And then I'd go over to my sister's house and make sure to bring my DSi
yeah.
over to make sure that if he wanted to trade someone, I could trade him someone, help him build up his Pokedex a little bit, show him the different moves. So we had a lot of good quality time on it. And he doesn't have a Switch, but I definitely will be reaching out to him to see if he will be picking this one up or not. Uh, I will be picking this game up. It's a core Pokemon title. It's one of my favorites. I will be picking it up.
Undecided, but I'll eagerly await your review.
Why are you undecided? Just because it's a Pokemon title, or?
So we talked about this a little bit in our group chat. I don't like the step back. I like the direction that they went with the
Mm-hmm.
last game. So for me, like I hadn't played a Pokemon game in probably, man, I think the last one I played literally was Gold and Silver. Back on, was that a DS one? Maybe.
It re-released on a DS. It was Heart
Okay,
Gold and
so
Soul Silver, but
yeah,
originally
so
it was on Game Boy and Game Boy Color.
gotcha. So I remember playing it one on DS, and I think that was it. So but anyway, I was that big of a Laps player from all the way from there. I played a little bit when Pokemon Go came out, and then when this last one came out, I just liked the direction they went. Where it's like, oh man, you're like it made the whole gym battle system make sense. Like, oh, you're trying to become a superstar on this continent. It's kind of like American Idol,
Right.
except for you're going and you're knocking down all these champions. And like I like the direction they went with that. It was more it maintained like the innocence of Pokemon while also bringing it a little bit into more of a mature narrative versus in the past it's always been like, oh, I'm a little kid that's going away from home to find out about puberty out in the world of Pokemon or something. So
All on my own
uh,
with no parental
yeah,
oversight.
yeah. So I really I like that. So this, I mean, it's cool. Maybe if there's people who are diehard Pokemon fans. I think the cool thing about this is that obviously we kind of underestimate, like you and me are both in our 30s, so we underestimate how many new players or how many new people are entering the video game space every year. There's a new generation, graduating from kindergarten, whatever it is, when their parents finally say, yeah, you can have a console. And then something like this, like Pokemon has this huge back catalog. I mean, they could go back all the way to what, like 99, maybe even earlier than that
Oh,
when it
definitely
comes to
earlier than
games.
that.
Yeah, so for them to bring it up to date like this, I think is kind of cool. It gives current players who love it, like yourself, an opportunity to go back and revisit it, and then it also gives the new players an opportunity to come in and play it in a modern way without having to kind of suffer through the older hardware and things. So
I think
it's cool.
what
Just
to touch on your older hardware one comment, I think that that is also another reason for bringing it out. They are really kind of pushing the whole Pokemon Home thing, keeping your Pokemon in like a nice little cloud storage unit, your own Pokemon PC in your hand. And to get Pokemon from this generation into it is a nightmare. It's you have to have the original game, you have to transfer it over to I think X and Y eventually, like your Pokemon have to be transferred to X and Y. And then from X and Y, you have to use a different service called Pokemon Bank or Pokemon Transfer, I think, to make it into Pokemon Bank. And then from there, you're now in the 3DS environment. From there, you have to do a whole nother app that helps you transfer from your Pokemon carts into Pokemon Home, but only through another way. And it's just this whole meshed web of just craziness. And with this, you're throwing it on the Switch. The Switch has Pokemon Home built right into it. Uh, uh, well, access to it, and you can just easily just chuck it right in your home. Like, cool, I got my Chimchar here. He's fully maxed out. I'm going to just throw him in my Pokemon bank. Maybe I'll throw him in Pokemon Sword and Shield or whatever the next big title is. Um, so I think that it's probably comes more from a duality of nostalgia and we want more money type stand up.
yeah,
Because then you're
hey,
definitely going to drive sales of Pokemon Home after that.
yeah, hey, bring us home with the last Pokemon game that was announced.
All
What do
right,
you got?
last Pokemon game that was announced was Pokemon Legends Arceus. It was definitely more a Breath of the Wild esque feel, more so than Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield had like a key area called I think it was like the Wild area,
Yeah,
and there your Pokemon were not yours. Random Pokemon would walk around. You would still have grass encounters and stuff like that, but it was more open. But you still, once a battle ensued, you went into a battleground. It took you out of that world that was very open, and now you're locked away in this battle, this turn-based battle. So I think what this one is trying to do is make that next logical step of like, okay, how do we make battles seamless in that wild area while also expanding the wild area?
yeah. Like the biggest thing I've seen online, a lot of people mention is this making the same jump that Final Fantasy has made from being a turn-based, RPG game to where it's going to be a action adventure game where it'll still be an RPG because you're leveling up characters and everything, but it'll
Right.
be a real time, which I think it fits the Pokemon style in a way. In a way, it also goes against kind of what the game has always kind of been about at its fundamentals. What I would hope is that they give players an option, so they'll go down this path. It is a prequel; it goes back in time. Not that there's really a chronological lineage to these games anyway, but
Oh, there
anyway,
is.
yeah, not one that fucking makes sense. But anyway, I think there's a world where they could do this, this real time thing, and then also still keep the turn based. Because I mean, even if you think back to the card game, part of the whole pull of Pokemon is it's not a button masher game. It's hey, let me sit down and really think what's the best thing to use right now. So But I am kind of excited about this. I want to see, especially if they do like, well, they probably won't have the Dynamax stuff in here since it's a prequel, but that would be kind of cool to have these huge like boss battles and things out in the open world. But
Well, I
we'll
think
see.
they might because this happens in the land that Diamond and Pearl take place in, but it is in like just visually it looks more like in feudal era Japan type stuff. But from all the videos that they've shown and watched, there's been no new Pokemon announced for it. And your starters are actually a mix of three different generations of starters. You have the Sun and Moon starter Rowlet, the I think Gold and Silver starter Cyndaquil, and then the Black and White starter Oshawott. So I think that they are not calling this a core title because they're definitely going to be trying some off the wall things, like the transition over to real time combat, which they do kind of show it a little bit in their videos. Um, but I think to keep it safe, they're keeping this in its own little pocket game and outside of the main Pokemon universe, which there is a timeline. There's don't say there's not because people online will absolutely jump you for saying that.
Yeah,
It's crazy. But you're right. It is all over the place.
very much so. All right. Well, that's it for our Pokemon news. Last thing I got on the news cycle this week was they announced that Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming to PS5. It's going to have a PS5 upgrade. Obviously, it already came out on the PS4. The update is going to have native 4K support. It also have the option of doing 60 FPS versus doing the cinematic 4K 30 FPS. So really good there. The big announcement, though, that came along with this announcement was that we are going to get some additional content as well. So Yuffie is going to be coming over. Some key differences that are going to be in this, obviously, the change in frame rate, the texture quality. I didn't see anything regarding gameplay, but there are some opportunities for them to do that with the triggers that the PS5 has. Obviously, with
Right.
that different complexity. So we'll see because you do have Barrett. He's got the machine gun arm. You've got Cloud with the sword, so there's probably something you could do with the momentum for strikes or something. So that'll be kind of interesting. I'm still without a PS5, so this didn't really excite me that much, and I also would not go back to play this game again. It was very long, not a bad game at all. It was just very long, and it's not something that I need to play through again. I got enough of it. I remember the original
Right.
content. There wasn't that much change to where I really want to go back through to digest it even more. So I'm just going to be waiting for whatever part two is going to be. At some point, maybe they'll put all three of them together in one disc, or like people care about disc anymore. They'll put it in one download, and maybe I'll play through it at that point. But I don't see myself being too excited about this remake.
Yeah, I'm not too excited about the stance that it's taken. I'm excited for the remake. Final Fantasy VII is one of my favorite titles
Yeah,
of all
and let
time.
me correct myself. The remake I am excited about. I want them to finish it up. I'm real happy about that. I'm not excited about this upgrade, is what I should have said.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah,
That I can definitely see. At least they are allowing it. It's a free upgrade. They're they're not pulling a who was that? Was that Activision that was like, "Oh no, you accidentally bought the PS4 version of Call of Duty?
you got to buy
Sucks
a
for you, I
PS5 now.
guess."
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's so such anti-consumer shit.
yeah. But what kind of strikes me about this is in the original PlayStation 1 game, you don't meet Yuffie until man, I'm pretty sure it's well after the first of those discs. Um, yeah, you don't meet her until after those discs, and you can play the entire game without meeting her until you get to pretty far into disc two, where you go to Wu Tai. Uh, but even then, you don't really know that she's Yuffie. She's just a ninja that stole your materia.
Yeah,
Um, so it'd be interesting to see what kind of changes they're making. Clearly, it's a definitive change because they're introducing her before you even get out of Midgar, which is a huge chunk of the first disc of the original. And it
yeah.
seems that she's going to be leading some type of small version of Avalanche, that natural terrorist group that you play with.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the way that they some of the details they've announced. So they announced you would be playing as her as the
Right.
character in this content. So it makes me think it's probably something that wasn't in the original game, because you don't have any time where you're playing a story that I can remember in the original title, and there's no part where they're really showing a lot of her backstory. So maybe it's just something for them to quickly give us maybe a 5 hour look at her backstory. Here's a little mission, find out a little bit about her personality, her connection to Leon, who's we're gonna have to deal with and everything in the game here. So maybe that's what it is. But again,
Connection to Leon?
yeah, isn't she connected to Leon?
I don't think you mean Cloud.
No, Squall.
That's Cloud. No, who are you talking to or
I'm
talking
talking about
about?
you. I'm talking about Yiffy.
Wait, am I learning something for the first time? What do you mean she's connected to Final Fantasy VIII's Leon?
No, in this one here. Let's I don't want to, because I
All
can't
right,
research
we'll
this
we'll
on
we'll
the.
take it
Let's
up
talk after.
afterwards.
And if we're wrong, or if I'm wrong, I should say, correct us. Got podcast questions. We got feedback on the Discord channel. But if
Yeah,
I'm
hit us up in the
correct, I feel
Discord.
like I could have swore there's a character that. So you were right about her with the ninja thing, but I could have swore there's a character that she also deals with in the in Seven called Squall. Maybe I am mixing Seven and Eight together for some reason, but
Squall/Leon is the main person you play as in Final Fantasy VIII.
yeah. Oh, we'll follow up on this,
Yeah,
and
we'll
then I'll tell
follow
you
up on
what I
that.
was confused. Okay,
We'll let you know
but
in the Discord.
but yeah, so it'll be interesting. I'm not personally excited for it, but some people out there are, so kudos to them.
Yeah, no, I intentionally have not finished Final Fantasy VII Remake, I guess part 1, we're calling it. Um because I'm waiting for the entirety of it. I played the entirety of the original. I don't want to be just kind of dangled around. Hopefully, maybe we'll get a part 2 in some type of year. I don't want to support this episodic stuff that they're doing because this is exactly what killed Final Fantasy 15. They intentionally cut up the story so that they could do episodic stories for the independent characters, and people didn't really care for it. They liked it, but they didn't really care for the fact that they had to buy these other things for characters that they felt that they already paid a good enough for price in order to get it. So I'm not going to support this episodic stuff. I will wait until the entirety of the Cloud Sephiroth story is finished.
You're gonna be
Uh,
waiting for 20 years.
then I'll wait. I waited 20 years for this almost, so I have no problem waiting more. Um,
Yeah, I'm. See, I've had this argument before with different people. The patience is a virtue thing for the episodic games. Obviously, I was a big fan of the Telltale series, and
oh
that was
yeah,
one where you had to wait months, if not years, for an episode to come out. And for me, I always played them as the episode came out. I think if you, they always do a good job of like doing the hey previously on kind of stuff, and I'm like,
right.
oh, okay, I'm right back in it. So for me, it's okay. I just, because I also, I mean, think about it this way: you wait for all three of them to come out. You're going to be devoting 120 hours in 1 week to play Final Fantasy, or not 1 week, but at one time to get through all those. That first
I'll
part
gladly
one,
do it, Steve.
oh my god, part one was so long, so long.
Yeah, I did. I
Tommy,
I didn't really like that about part 1, where it was like more movie than game almost. Especially
yeah,
in the beginning, it was definitely more. Here's these beautiful cutscenes that we rendered for you. All right, now we'll let you play.
yeah. Tom in chat said he's never played a Final Fantasy game. He's missing out. He should also play Kingdom Hearts.
Tom, if you have Game Pass, there are a lot of good ones that are available on both Xbox and PC now. I believe 7, 8, 9, and not 11, 12 are available on. Yeah, because 10 is still on a Sony contract because of their last remake, 10 and 10-2. And then 11 was a old MMO title that I think still has some private servers up, but it's not great. It's a very grindy game. Don't play 11. But the other ones, I definitely recommend the other ones. Definitely worth the time.
Gotcha. Yep. So we'll keep an eye out on that. But if we're talking about something that would probably be coming out a little bit sooner than any Final Fantasy content, I found a game. Actually, I was talking earlier about some of the indie PR firms I work with, and they had sent me over a note on this one. Game called Definitely Not Fried Chicken, and funny title aside, it kind of the way I look at it is if you've watched Breaking Bad, it reminds me a lot of Gus's his restaurant that he ran there, Pollos Hermanos.
Oh, yep.
Um, it is a in the front you have this chicken restaurant, but in the back you're running an illicit drug operation. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. I really love these simulation type games. If you're looking at the gameplay here on screen, you can see that you actually are operating, in the front of it, you're operating a real restaurant. You're trying to keep customers happy, preparing orders, setting prices, things like that. And then in the back, you've got the weed operation, but you also have this dynamic that I haven't seen in one of these type of games before, where you've got the city builder thing, but you also have to manage these relationships with other gangs. You've got to manage relationships with the cops in the area. So it's got this business simulation plus like this Sim City stuff built in, plus just the Sims itself with the relationship stuff. You can see there's a ton of different locations. So I this is one I'm definitely going to pick up. The cool thing about indie games is you're usually never paying more than like $20 for it or something. So for me, I'm like, I paid $20 when I go to McDonald's. So it's really a no brainer to pick something up like this, support some any development. So I'm really excited about it. Right now, they don't have a date, just saying 2021. But just looking at the gameplay footage, it looks pretty complete to me. The art style is obviously an intentional choice there, which I
Right.
kind of like. You keep it low poly, you can have more system resources to manage other systems and things like that. So my wish list, I'm excited for it. Of course, when I play it, I'll make sure we talk about it here on the podcast.
I think I'll wait for your take on this one, mainly because I don't know if it's more sim heavy. I think I'll definitely be about it. But if it's more micromanagey, probably not for me. Um,
Yeah,
and that's one of the things that we can't really tell by this early footage. There's no real UI to talk about or anything like that. It looks more sim esque. I don't see anything that would make me think that it's not gonna
yeah,
be more sim
spreadsheet
title.
simulator.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Um, so if that's the case, then yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind dropping $20 for it.
Yeah,
It
and you saw you just kind of scroll past that screenshot there. You kind of see the cops doing a raid and things like that. So reading over the notes, they have like dynamic events and things that happen too. So I really think they're going to probably be leaning closer to like Sim City, something like that. So I'm super excited for it.
yeah, that'll be. I think this would be a good one. We'll probably see this one played a lot on YouTube, I imagine.
Oh yeah,
It probably won't be content friendly, but I imagine some one of the big ones is going to pick it up and probably give it a run.
yeah,
Man, so I don't really have anything on my radar this last week or anything. My time has been completely split between uh, school as well as Valheim, which you and I played that a little bit.
yeah.
Uh, that's definitely a title that I could lose a ton of hours into. Um, oh, Viking Simulator. Uh,
Yeah, so
uh,
we did play. I got to hop in with you guys last night. So this one has been blowing up all over my Discord channel. Been blowing up on Ryan's Discord channel. I've been seeing you guys playing for hours on end, and luckily, Tom, our good buddy, was friendly and kind enough to give some of the guys in our group chat a copy, so we were all able to get together and play together. So I hopped in with you guys last night. I really enjoyed it. I could see why you guys have been playing it. It's a very addictive game. At some point, you guys went off on a hunting trip, and I was still back at the camp. I was like, I'm enjoying building too much right now. Just something about that. I think anybody who's played Fallout before, you've played The Sims, anything like that, base building type stuff really is such a cool mechanic. So I like the gameplay loop this game has. Is collect your resources, make your home base better so that you could be more prepared when you go out into battle. I like that the survival shit that I usually hate, like eating and things, it's not a detriment to you in this game. It's just, hey, if you do that, you actually have boost. So I like that everything makes sense. There's nothing that's just in there to be annoying for the sake of being annoying.
yeah,
Cool game. Yeah.
yeah, I think one of the things that kind of draws me to it the most is we are for the most part playing it blind. So there's a lot to explore. There's a lot to discover in it. There was a point where Rayhan and BP and we built our first raft and we're like, yeah, let's take this out on the ocean. and we hopped on the boat, and one of us was like, "Hey, do we bring our stuff with us, or are we
Yeah.
willing to lose everything we have on our hands?" So we left a bunch of our stuffs and we just went exploring. And sure enough, we got to a section called the ocean, and it was not friendly. I don't want to spoil it for anyone that decides to pick it up, but it was an unexpected event happened that was both chaotic and amazing at the same time. And it resulted in about a 30-minute walk back to our bodies.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that clip. It was very funny, and that's the kind of stuff I love about those games. Just the emergent gameplay that comes. Like it's not a quest that you got that told you, "Hey, go out here and do this thing." It's something you guys were just doing a mundane task.
Yep.
Getting from point A to point B, and then all of a sudden, this crazy ass event happens. So I like that. We got a couple of separate from that, we did a couple activities last night where I saw like the trolls and the boss battles and things like that.
Hmm.
So it's a good game. I see what the craze is all about. It's definitely not a pretty game. The art style is okay, but graphically, like the texture quality is pretty low. Probably a couple steps above Minecraft. Like I really was getting a lot of
Yeah.
Minecraft vibes last night when I was putting the house together and things. But like the creativity of what you can do is insane. Even kind of in my sleep last night, I was like, oh, I could build a place like this. Like oh, I can make this kind of establishment. So I like it. The thing about it now is, so I did. I was peeking around. I was hacking a little bit last night. I was looking at some of the hex editor info, seeing the number of items, and there's not a ton in there. Um, that's going to be what kind of I think the death. I won't say the death of the game because I don't expect it to die, but cough cough cheater. Yeah, that's the way I'm going to play these games because I rather have a creative type mode. Like if I wasn't playing with you guys, I would just build my own server and I would just build up my own shit and do whatever I wanted. Um, a game like this, I want creative mode because I'm not addicted to the gameplay loop. I like the gameplay loop, but I'm not addicted to it. That's why I say it's not something I want to log in every day. But if I had infinite resources and I could build up whatever I wanted every day, I would, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't just naturally want to go and collect wood and rocks and everything all day long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. It's definitely one of those games that you can either, like you said, emerging gameplay. If you go in there, there's nothing stopping you from using cheat engine or anything like that. They even have consoles built in, like console commands built in. You just hit F5, and then oh, in order to activate the cheats, by the way, I looked this up last night. In order to activate them, you have to type in the command "I am a cheater" first,
Oh, that's funny.
and then you can put in whatever cheat codes you want. But I think what's not fair is like there are some commands in there like free flying camera
Hmm.
that I messed around with last night, and it would be such a great tool to have in that game because it, so you and I do have differing opinions on the graphics from a purely statistical stance. Yes, the graphics are not great, but they have done such great work with the lighting models and the fog models in this game that it doesn't matter that that tree looks like, an 8-year-old built it.
Yeah,
uh the lighting kind of just adds this whole other layer to it, and it's very, I don't want to say it's you know ray tracing or anything like that, because I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it's just simulated. But I was building the top part of our little new station out there by the docks, and you could just see the sunbeams just come right in through the angular roof style that we had built up in there, and it was just like such a cool little visual moment. And that's what this game really is. It's kind of like a collection from a graphic stance. It's a collection of visual moments.
yeah.
Um,
And I
it's
think I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, no, no. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, you're right. I don't think when I said that, like it's I don't think it's a subjective thing. The texture quality is bad. Like it is bad. You can't even see what your character's face looks like at all on the character select screen. You're just a mambled mush of things. But to your point, you really don't like it's a game that really doesn't need the high fidelity because you can see enough of what you're doing to where I really like the art style is great. Like I took a couple of screenshots like that opening
Yeah.
scene when you're first coming in, not to spoil it for anybody, but like that's pretty epic. Like I took a couple screenshots of that. I've taken some of like the boss battles. Like they have some very well designed bosses in the game. So it's just really why I just made that point was that it's a game that does a lot. It hooks you in without being this AAA polished, game. That's really why I made that comment. Not a knock against them because obviously it's a small team that made this. I don't know how big it is, but obviously they're small. So it's good that they accomplished that.
Oh yeah, and I think my only real complaint is that base building is fun, but it does have its moments of like, okay, why is this not working the way it should be? Um, you have to basically terraform in order to get a log to work well in damp water, which I guess is realistic, but in the same sense, just let me build my little dock house, my little floating house. I want to build that.
Yeah.
And it's made of wood, so it should float just fine. I think snapping is also something that probably needs to be worked on. It's hard to get up under certain parts of your like ground floor that you're trying to work on.
Yeah, I hated that. That's
Yeah,
why I was asking about the hoe and the cultivation tool last night because it's very like I'm used to most games when you put a tile down, it flattens the area automatically. Like you're
right,
playing Roller Coaster Tycoon or something like, oh, you're on a little hill, but we'll flatten this because we know you're trying to make it straight. So
right,
maybe it's kind of the way I understand why, because once you get into there's going to be a point where obviously I hope they open it up to just kind of open matchmaking. People just jump in the
right,
server together, maybe like 30, 50 people together, something like that. I don't know how they're going to do the meshing of your houses and all that kind of stuff, but it's so you can have multiple reinforcements. So you could build wall upon wall upon wall. Somebody, okay, I broke through the first one, I broke through the second one. Oh, I'm repairing while you're doing that. So I understand why they give you the flexibility to do that, but it also can be frustrating when you're trying to build something that's very level. But kind of what I decided last night, as you probably saw me as I was building it, I was like, yeah, this is janky, but I don't really care. Like I kind of put myself in that time period. Like
right.
they
How
weren't
can I
making
work with the
perfect
jank?
yeah, they weren't making perfect 90-degree angles and all this kind of stuff. Like
Hmm.
they tried their best, and if it got a little water coming in through the roof, it got a little water coming in through the roof. So I really like the building was my favorite part of the game, I will say.
Yeah, I think I've spent the most time just building random, like I built a Home Depot and Applebee's and a
Yeah, I
Salvation
like that stuff.
Army
Yeah, I
for
like the
random
creativity
things.
of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely one of those things that allows you that creative freedom to do whatever it is you want to do. Like, yeah, sure, it's a Viking simulator, but if I just want to plop in a new world and go hunt down resources, as long as I'm willing to fight off a couple of enemies here or there, I can build whatever house I want to. Uh,
Yeah.
it allows you to do that, and it has good mechanics. The mechanics feel very well thought out, and this is a early access game, so you don't always get that luxury of the title being so well polished. I think that every issue that I have with Valheim is very extremely minor. Like it could not they could decide to just end production here and I would still put so many more hours into it. It's very polished.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be continuing playing. I'll probably play it after this stream to be honest with you. It's a great game.
Yeah. Yeah. I probably won't be playing that. I'll be continuing work. I don't know. If you see the link there, Jordan, can you pull it up? So I'll just briefly touch on this. So my
Oh,
team, we
yes,
did
yes, yes, yes.
We did release our helicopter finally. So I announced this maybe 1 to 2 episodes ago that we were going to be bringing the first helicopter to Microsoft Flight Simulator. We have done that. We have gotten in less than 3 days over 5,000 downloads of the helicopter. Released it for free, no charge at all to really to anybody. We started obviously we've always had our Discord server, you and me that we've
Yep.
been playing on. I've been building that up alongside with my channel and things. A ton of people joined because of the helicopter work we've been doing. So we, always give the first look to them. Then we release it to the public. So like I said, 5,000 downloads. We're working on it every day, putting out an update, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. Like today, we put out a bunch of updates that people have been asking for. So yeah, follow me on YouTube, Media Hype Train, and you can join our Discord, which is bit.ly MidLyfe.com/MLG chat. That's
Yep.
where the MidLyfe Gaming Podcast lives. So you can hang out with us there, submit questions. We actually did a giveaway for this week's episode as well. I can go ahead and announce that winner.
Nice,
So
nice.
the winner of that giveaway was Duzzy. So I've sent them the list of our games. Let me check that out really quick. So one thing that we'll be doing here, every time we have a podcast, I'll go ahead and we'll give away a game from our massive list that we've got right now. We've got 110 games on that list, so plenty of options there. These are a combination of Humble Bundle games, Fanatical games. I get sent a lot of free keys for stuff that I don't always get to make a video about, and the developer says go ahead and keep it anyway, so I just toss it on this list, and that's what these are. So some really high dollar stuff on here too. I've given away, like recently, I remember giving away Control.
Oh,
Someone
nice.
already, yeah, because that one is coming out for I think it's March's Humble Bundle game.
I think
So
so, yeah.
someone already asked me to hold that one for them, so I'm going to be giving that away for those guys. But a lot of good stuff on there. Yeah, just want to give back to the community. We appreciate you guys tuning in, watching us every week here. This is our 5th episode, so we're going strong. Hopefully, we just want to build the community and talk about some gaming.
Yeah. Definitely appreciate the community here. It never ceases to amaze me whenever I read comments, and we got a comment from, I think it was on episode 3, where someone was like, "Hey, I appreciate the news here. It helps me connect more with my child." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't expect that at all." It makes you feel. So
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate the community sticking around with us. Uh, we're gonna do our best to bring you honest content. We will never allow our voices to be bought out. Um,
Speak for yourself.
yeah, speak.
I have a cheap rate, $20 an hour. I'll say whatever the hell you want me
I'll
to.
say whatever you want. 20
Yeah.
bucks is 20 bucks.
Yeah, or free stuff. You send me something free, I'll be nice about it. Nah, I'm kidding. I am actually me and you are both kind of cynical. We're both very
Oh yeah.
critical of things. Like don't really take no fluff. Like we can kind of see through all the marketing tactics and all that. Like so you're right, we are very unbiased when it comes to the news and we try to keep it casual. We probably know a lot more about some of the stuff than we say on the podcast because we don't want to bore you guys to death. We can go on for hours about a lot of these
The
topics, but
sleeping simulator.
yeah, sleeping simulator. But yeah, appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, if you guys have questions, you can submit those over on our Discord channel. Again, that's bit.ly/MLG chat. I'll throw that in our Twitch chat here real quick as well for you guys, so you have that. Actually, I have a link, so I'll just put that in there. And like I said, we have a giveaway every week when we do the podcast, so feel free to join that. But we like to play a little game here on the podcast called Video Game 20 Questions, where we challenge each other, taking turns each week, to guess a game within 20 questions. So far, the score is 1-0 in favor of Jordan. I did not. I did not stump him the first week. He was able to successfully guess Mass Effect 2. Last week, the game was Grand Theft Auto 5, and I just completely blew it. So let's see if he can get this
Let's
week's
see.
game.
I got my
Jordan,
pen and paper down here, so
okay.
let me know when
Jordan,
you're
you're on the.
ready.
I'm ready. You're on the clock, buddy.
All right. Has it released after 2015?
Has it released after 2015? Give me 1 second.
I don't know why I like that year to use as a distinguishment, but
The only reason why I'll give you a freebie here, this game has released multiple times. But
ooh.
its most recent release was not after 2015. That's
Well,
one.
okay, so the most recent remake was before 2015.
Yep, and I won't say remake, I'll just say release because I don't know if it was a complete
Okay.
overhaul or if it was just a re-release.
Okay, so before 2015. Is it a is it a puzzle game?
No.
No, not a puzzle game. That's 2. Is it a is it exclusive to consoles? Like,
This is
does it exist on PC legitimately?
no, it does not exist on PC. Do you consider
I
it's
don't
yes,
don't
it's exclusive to consoles.
Okay.
That's as far as I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I was gonna give you that was gonna turn to a hint. It's
Okay.
exclusive to
Is
consoles.
it is it a is it a mobile game?
It is not a mobile game if you mean in the sense of a cell phone game. No.
Correct. Okay. So
That's four.
is it for a handheld title or a handheld console?
Is that when you ask that question, are you asking me, is it been released on a handheld or is it exclusive to handheld?
Um, man, I don't know. uh, has it been? Yeah, is it? Sure, we'll go with. Is it an exclusive for handhelds?
It is not.
It
No,
is not. Okay, so that's
that
5.
was five. Yep.
Um, damn. All right, I need to walk down the genre road a little bit more. So it's not a
And you
puzzle
guys at
game.
home to see if you can guess as well.
Yeah, I won't look at chat. I'm gonna put Steve's face over chat so I can't cheat. Um, man, so it's not a puzzle game. Is it an RPG?
It is not.
Not an RPG. That was 6. Is it a first person shooter?
It is not. No.
It is not.
I wish it was.
You wish it was.
It'd be a very interesting first person shooter. Oh my god, would it be?
is it is it a simulation game?
Um, you mean like strategy type simulation? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no.
No. Um,
7.
man. No, that was 8.
Oh, okay, that was
Yeah,
8.
that was my 8th one. Um, first. Oh man. Um, is it? So it's not an RPG. It's not a first-person shooter. It's not a puzzle. Is it a man? And it came. The last one came out before 2015. Um, ooh. Let's see. Let's see. Damn, I can't even think of questions now. I guess we'll just try and narrow it down more. Is it a third person perspective?
Um, so I'm gonna give you this one with a hint.
Okay.
I know that there is a third person view. I do not remember if there's also a first person view. Um, and I think there may have been because usually a game of this genre does also have a first person view. So I'll give you a freebie there.
Is it Skyrim?
It is not Skyrim.
Okay.
That was 10.
That was 10.
This guy just
I
threw
know.
it.
Should
It must be Sky.
threw it in. I mean, that was number 10. I had to throw it from half court to see if it landed. Um, which wouldn't make sense because that's an RPG. So it's third person predominantly, but you're not sure if it has a first person view or not.
Yeah. How do you feel about the hardware that it's on? Do you feel like you know that?
No, no, your first answer kind of messed me up there a little bit.
That
Let,
one
let me go
about
down that road then. Was it for so you said it's a console exclusive, but you weren't very definitive on that.
so I'll help you out since you were confused about that question. It
Okay.
is a
I'll
console
sacrifice a
exclusive.
question for it.
Okay, so 11. You asked if it was a console exclusive. It is exclusive to consoles in that it's not on a PC. I would also consider a console something like a Game Gear, um, DS, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, handhelds.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure you also included that kind of stuff.
Well, oh, okay, so it's on a handheld then. That's the question. Is it on a handheld?
It is on a handheld, but
Okay.
it's not exclusive to a
But
handheld,
it's not
which was
exclusive.
one of your other
Nope.
questions that you
Yep.
asked.
Yep. That's a legitimate answer. So that's 11. So it's on a handheld, but not exclusive to a handheld. Is the most recent version of this game, is it was it released on both TV based and handhelds? Like it's the same exact game, just on those two different platforms?
I believe so.
I believe so.
I
So
believe so. If it is not, I'm actually reading it right now. So the you said is it the exact same game? It is
is it
fundamentally
roughly the same? Yeah.
It is roughly the same game, but there obviously are there's some changes that
limitations
have
and
to be
whatnot.
made for it to be
But
to
it's not
a
it's not
handheld.
like compiled and sold as like, oh, yep, this is Call of Duty on your DS. Yeah.
It kind of is, but what I would stress there is that it's not a this game number two. So it's not a continuation. It came out here it is again.
Oh. Um.
I'll give you that one. That's 12.
Oof, man.
8 questions to bring it home.
8 questions to bring it home. Geez.
I think I got them this time,
I
guys.
think I think I got. Is this is this a video game that's based on a movie?
Now in a movie. Nope.
Damn it.
13.
13. Man,
Again,
I
there
got to
should be a movie.
figure out the genre for this. It's not a shooter. It's not an RPG.
Think of
It's
some games that you play from the third player perspective.
Is it a Diablo title?
Nope.
No,
Is that a
that's not on
question?
handheld.
That was a question.
That was a question, yeah, but it's not on handheld. So,
Is that 13?
that was 14.
14. Okay.
Um,
Six
man,
questions to bring it home. I think you're close. If you think more about the consoles, I think you're close. I think you're closer there. If you think about that more.
if I think about that more on the consoles,
Yeah,
is it
because I mean, you
is
think
it a
about it.
Nintendo console?
There you go. Yeah,
So
there
it's
you go.
on a Nintendo console.
15. He finally got to Nintendo. I thought the handheld question was going to give that one away because there's only so many handhelds, you know?
Yeah, yeah, but you led off with Sega, so it kind of tripped me out. But Sega doesn't have a handheld in 2015, so nor does it today. Well, when did the N-Gage come out?
The hell if I know.
That was forever
2000
ago. Anyways, back to the questions. I got
Engage.
5 left.
That was a question there. Let me
No.
find out for you. The Engage came out. All right,
uh
you're at 15. We got
oh
you.
man. Yeah, I'm at 15. So
So
it's
you
a
narrowed down as
Nintendo.
Nintendo.
Is
You're getting
it
close, man.
no, the most recent one came out after 2015, so it's not Smash.
No, not after 2015. You asked me if it came out. You asked me if
Before.
it came.
Yeah, I asked you if it came out before 2015.
Oh man, it did. I'm
Or
sorry. I thought you said
or
after.
did I say after? I don't know which one was it. I'll still go. I'll
It
shoot for
came out
3.
before 15, before 2015.
Yeah, yeah, okay. That's what my understanding was the whole time. Was that it came out before 2015.
Yeah.
So, before 2015, it's not Smash. Um oh, man. Jeez.
I love this game.
I do love this game. It makes me really think about the
It's so
gaming
hard
history.
when you
It,
get off course too.
yeah.
So,
Oh, man. Is it a Mario title?
mm, it is. If Mario had an extended universe, it would be in the Mario extended universe
So
because Mario has
it's a Donkey
interacted with
Kong
these.
title.
That's a new question. So you got
Yes.
16, 17.
Yep.
It is a Donkey Kong title.
Okay. That was 16. I think that was 16. Pretty sure that was 16.
16 was, is it a Mario title?
Was that one? Okay. Well, I'll mark
And
it down to
then your
18.
next question was, so is Donkey Kong?
So is
So
this Donkey Kong Frozen Jungle?
it is not that. 17.
It is Donkey Kong title
Let's do set.
2015. It's not Frozen Jungle.
I don't even know what the hell Frozen Jungle is, but I know this ain't it.
It's on the Switch.
Before 2015. Did the Switch
So
come out in 20? When
no,
did the Switch come out? Oh, okay.
18. I think 2018.
Maybe you're so close.
So it's a
You can
Donkey
get
Kong
this.
title. Most recent one was on uh Donkey Kong Country Returns.
No.
No,
No, no, no.
that had a
18.
re-release.
2 questions to go.
Oh
Can he
man.
do it? Can he do it?
But you did say it was a Donkey Kong title though.
It is definitely in the Donkey Kong universe. It
Donkey
is.
Kong title that was both on consoles and handhelds. Not Frozen Jungle, not Donkey Kong Country Returns. Is this oh damn. Is this Mario versus Donkey Kong?
The hell is Mario versus Donkey
It's like
Kong?
this weird little like Lemmings type game.
What, Jordan? What the?
Look it up, man. It's a Lemmings type game.
I'm disqualifying you for bringing up a game that I've never. Oh, wow! I didn't even know this came out. I can't believe you wasted question number. What was that? 18 on that.
That was 19. So I got
19. You got
one
one
left.
more.
I got
Oh my
one
god!
left.
You got to go with the guess. Oh man.
Donkey Kong title.
Dig deep, Jordan.
I'm
Dig
digging
deep.
deep. Digging deep. Donkey Kong
Dig.
title.
Donkey Kong versus Mario. Who the hell knew that came out?
I mean, that's a fun game. Um geez, I can't even think of another one.
You got this. I know you had to have played this at some point. I know
Is
you
it
have to.
Donkey Kong 64?
Is that your final question?
It has to be because I asked it. So
So you're gonna ask me if a game that came out on a handheld was named Donkey Kong 64?
did it? I'm pretty sure it. No, I'm pretty sure it got a DS remake.
uh,
I
well,
think. Yeah,
I'm
I might be lying. I don't. I maybe not. But yeah, I asked it. So that's the last question.
I'm sorry,
That was
but
20.
that is incorrect. It is not. It is not that game. It is not Donkey Kong 64. It was the world famous, the eighth best-selling game on Nintendo 64. Of course, we are talking about Diddy Kong Racing, released
Oh
on Nintendo
no.
64 November of 1997. Its remake, which was just an enhanced remake, came out on Nintendo DS in
Yep.
North America, February of
Yep. I had it for
2007.
DS.
Yep.
Yep.
So, couple of tricky questions
Dang.
there.
What
I
tripped
really,
me up was the Mario extended universe. It helped me. It helped me bridge the gap to Donkey Kong because
yeah,
I mean, what other extended universe is there in Mario?
yeah,
Um, but I don't think I ever would have made the further connection into Diddy Kong Racing.
yeah.
That
That
was
was
a good. That was a good choice. That was a good choice.
actually, so Diddy Kong Racing, I actually preferred that one. I picked this one because we were talking about Star Fox a couple of weeks ago or a couple episodes ago, and
Yep.
I just, man, the quality of games. Yes, Drumstick, he was hard as fuck to unlock. Tom, the fact that you know that name means that you went through that same bullshit. Like he had, I think if I'm correct, you had to beat a time ghost or something like a time. They
Yeah.
used to have like ghosts that went ahead of you, and it was on the map with the game's boss, which was like this huge ass boss, and he's like knocking you off the field and shit. Oh my god! But Drumstick was such a cool character. I like Diddy Kong Racing better than Mario Kart because Mario Kart was more about the families, like get together, play solo kart stuff. Whereas this one, it had a single player campaign. Like you had this boss
There's a
that
full story. Yeah.
yeah, like you're on this island and you have the different gameplay mechanics. You have the boat, the plane, and the car. I just thought they did a better job with Diddy Kong Racing, so I was always surprised that they didn't keep that series going or at least bring that stuff into Mario Kart. Because I mean, Mario Kart did eventually get some of it, but the way it was implemented wasn't as cool as like that. Because if you remember, it was one of the first open world games. You could get your little thing and oh, okay, I'm going over here to this NPC. Yeah, let's race, blah 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 blah. So
Yep.
they were pushing the envelope way back in 1997, man.
Way
That's
back in the day. Yep.
yeah, crazy, crazy. Great game though. I'm just nostalgic for Nintendo. I wish that Star Fox, like there's a lot of those classics in their archive that they could put a fresh
Easily
coat of
pluck
paint
out.
on. Yeah, I don't know why they don't, but for that one, I really do think it's just because I think it's just because Mario Kart's so popular. They're like we don't have to split the development between two. But yeah, Banjo was in that. Banjo Kazooie, a lot of cool characters in that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was I think that was right before Rare got bought out by Microsoft, right? I think so.
Um, yeah, so I have the article or I have some of the history pulled up here. So there was actually a sequel in development for the GameCube. Like I said, this was the eighth best-selling game for 64. They sold 5 million copies. There was a sequel in development, but that was abandoned after Microsoft purchased Rare for 375 million euros or pounds in 2002. So
Oof.
and then somehow they released some type of agreement between the both of them to re-release it. in 2007. But as we've talked about in this podcast, Microsoft and Nintendo have worked pretty well together. So
Oh yeah, they seem to work well. They let each other keep their own boundaries. They don't really step on one another's toes on really
yeah,
too many titles. I don't think too many of their in-house titles compete with one another.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I know they lean on Microsoft for their network infrastructure. That was kind of a big deal a couple of years ago. Was that there were
absolutely.
talks and everyone was like, "Oh, Xbox Live is coming to Nintendo," and no,
Yeah,
that's not how it works. I don't think there was any real evidence for that. It's just like, hey, we need network infrastructure that works better because Nintendo has always struggled in that. And who do we go to? I don't know. Maybe the biggest computer operating system people in the world who
yeah,
also managed to own one of the largest cloud server operations on this
yeah.
planet. So,
And it makes sense to go with them because they obviously they built Xbox Live on that infrastructure, so they know what gamers really need. I mean, obviously, you could go to any big data farmer or server infrastructure like Amazon, AWS. A lot of people use their web services, but
right.
if you're weighing the two, like, yeah, it makes sense to go Microsoft. They probably have engineers that know exactly the type of obstacles and things that you're going to run into. So,
Yep,
yeah.
absolutely.
But hey, man, this was a great episode. It was great spending a
Good stuff.
an hour here with you talking about the news this week. You
Yep.
got anything coming up next week that you're going to be playing, or more work and school?
I do have midterms coming up, but my gaming time will most likely be spent with Valheim. I am going to be working. Rayhan and I were talking earlier today. We're going to be trying to get a private server put up so
Oh,
that
cool.
it's a true persistent world.
Yeah.
Um, that we none of us have to be logged in, and if I can, I'm going to see if I can extend that out to make another server on like for our Discord members.
That would
So
be
it's a
cool.
little early stages. Hopefully, I can get it knocked out by the end of next week and get it figured out. So hit us up in the Discord if you want to join in. Um, but that's really all I got.
Hey, well, it was great seeing you this week, Jordan.
Yep.
Appreciate you, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Great seeing you. Great seeing everybody that came and watched. Peace out.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.